I would first like to welcome you all and to say that for me, it's really an honor to be able to open this event. And I think it's very important in the world we live in. I'm going to share a presentation, if I may. I'm going to talk about how we're carrying out the transformation towards DevOps at the bank. The fact is that we started at the beginning of last year. Hello, can you hear me?
Espera. Un segundo, porque creo que no estáis viendo la presentación.
Excuse me just a second. I believe you're not seeing the presentation.
Ahora sí.
Vale. Un momento, que ahora la pongo. Esperar un segundo. ¿La veis ahora?
Can you see it now?
Vale.
Perfecto, ahora.
Ahora. Bueno, ahora. De acuerdo, perdonar el problema. Bueno, nosotros empezamos
Sorry about the problem. We started the transformation last year. The concept, as you know, what we're working on consists in building digital offers on an incremental basis. So what happened? What happened that initially we had the typical hierarchical organizations, and the problem is that the decisions are made a long way away from the everyday lives of our customers. And in this context, we know that we need to move our organization towards much more empowered teams and multidisciplinary teams with the capability of innovating on several fronts at the same time. And while they innovate, they acquire customer knowledge, and this customer knowledge progressively turns into a fundamental asset at the company, and one of the most strategic assets to take the next steps. Usually when we begin, we start by putting the technology teams together with the business teams in order to work on an incremental basis. And we want to have digital components and combine these digital components with core components, bring them all together to progressively create an offer for the customer. But what happens? What happens is that we often convince the business we're going to set up an agile tribe, we're going to set up the multidisciplinary team. Business understands the concept, it gets started. And what happens very often? Well, if we haven't actually thought about how we're going to do the continuous engineering and the continuous deployment, if we don't have the suitable architectures, all of a sudden, we are the brake to the agile transformation and the digital business transformation. And we realize that we would have needed an end-to-end transformation. And this isn't an easy transformation. Why isn't it easy? Because this software engineering transformation has to touch all components in the life cycle of software engineering, from the onboarding to when I do the provisioning for the infrastructures, when I develop, when I go into production, when I maintain the system. I need to have absolutely automated processes, because otherwise it's going to be impossible to deploy these new functions every 15 days or in every spin that's defined together with the business. And this automation is not an automation that can be fixed by adding a tool, by adding an ELM and setting up some pipelines. The problem is that even though you need this, you need to build some pillars, and if they're not there, no matter how much you automate, you won't be able to have several agile tribes working in parallel. What do we need behind? We need a consistent architecture. If you have absolutely monolithic architectures, it's going to be very difficult to be able to work in parallel squads and to be able to set up a marketplace for digital components and core components that you can combine to provide new offers to the customers. In this architecture concept, we're going to need to open up our core systems and allow access through APIs, because otherwise, obviously, we're not going to be able to establish a digital marketplace with different components that we can relate in different ways. So sooner or later, I'm going to need to have cloud capabilities. In the case of Banco Santander, and I assume in many financial organizations, we need it for regulatory issues, because it's not easy to put everything on the public cloud. Therefore, we're going to need a period, probably of years, where we're going to combine cloud on premises with a public cloud. What will this allow? Well, it will enable a developer to develop components and not worry about where those components are going to end up being executed, whether inside or on the public cloud. And for the native, more digital applications, we're going to be able to directly develop them on the public cloud and use the capabilities provided by the cloud providers, not just regarding infrastructure, but also data access and software. And we're going to also need an ALM that allows the developers to automatically cover the entire life cycle. What is the other problem we face? Transformation, as you can see, is a very in-depth end-to-end transformation, but as well as being in-depth and end-to-end, each of these pillars you need to carry out the transformation. The pillar itself changes. So if you take the cloud, if some years ago we started to set up the hybrid cloud, next year we'll be in a renewal cycle, and therefore we're going to have to start to think about what we're going to implement from the cloud point of view. And if we take the ALM example, something similar has happened. We started in 2019, 2020, saying we have to get ready, we have to have an ALM that we can share with the group so that we can unify the way we work inside the Santander group. What happened in 2019, at the beginning of 2020, when we started to work? The capabilities we needed from the ALM regarding security, etc., inside Santander wasn't available in the market right then in an ALM SaaS, which is what we would have liked. So we said we're going to have to go step by step. And we started by consolidated various ALM technologies we had within the group in enriching them with management and testing. But this was a matter of trying to bring together various technologies and gradually evolving. In parallel, in the market, the ALM SaaS capabilities started to develop. And we've come to a point where we know that we have to take the step to the next gen, also in ALM and not just cloud. Why do we have to go to the ALM next gen? Because an ALM SaaS is going to enable us to cooperate much better in a group like ours between countries, having shared repositories and have open source inside the group. And through an inner source. And therefore, we're going through a coexistence phase where we have the multi-cloud on-premises that we still continue to develop regarding certain functions. And we're starting to deploy ALM SaaS, starting first with native applications, new applications, and at the end of the year, we'll migrate. But what's the message? The message again is that we have to carry out a transformation of the software engineering, and each pillar that helps carry out this transformation is in turn transforming. And at the same time, we have to continue with the delivery of our projects. So the point is how you maintain the balance between the effort of delivering projects, carrying out the end-to-end transformation of your software engineering capabilities, and at the same time, change everything you need to carry out the end-to-end transformation of the software engineering. And there's another very important point. Apart from the technological components and the methodologies we have to change, another important point is talent. In other words, we have to absolutely change the way in which software engineering is done. And this means several things. It means that we have to be capable of attracting technological talent in the market. Last year, at Banco Santander in the group, we hired about 800 people that were software engineers. In other words, tech doers, not managers. When you select these people, you not only have to consider their technological know-how or the capacity to learn, but also the type of culture they come with, because you have to carry out a cultural change. And these people that are going to join the bank can help you as long as you select them properly. So the software engineer selection process is not just a matter of technical skills, but also the type of culture they bring, a much more agile culture, more oriented to DevOps, etc. And with this, you also have to go into the upskilling of the teams we have at the company right now. These teams provide a great deal of value with their functional knowledge, with their knowledge of the company, and combined with the technicians that we're bringing to the bank, what we're doing overall is to build the other important asset together with customer knowledge, which is our technological and software engineering capabilities inside the company. So we have the talent, we have the software engineers, but now we need something else. It turns out that technologies keep moving forward. And when you start to develop an application active on cloud, or when you start to set up microservices, it's not so easy. And it turns out that depending on how you set up microservices, you have performance issues, you increase the hardware to improve performance, therefore the cost goes up. And of course, this isn't possible. We need our software engineers to work in a specific way to ensure that the microservices work properly, that we're going to have horizontal auto scale, that we're going to be resilient, that we're going to monitor, that we're going to comply with all the security policies we need at a group like Santander. Therefore, it's not enough to attract talent and train talent on a technological level. You have to make sure that the software engineers are going to work in a concrete way that is sustainable and that allows these new technologies to perform and be secure. What else? We've done all this. We're doing it on an ongoing basis, as we said, but there's something else that looks like a minor detail, but it isn't. It turns out that our internal processes are a block to this transformation very often. So what are we doing? And what do we recommend that you really do if you want to go to a real DevOps and an agile software engineering? Well, analyze how the hours are distributed regarding the effort and the elapsed time for the various processes in the software lifecycle. What we've done is to analyze of the 160 hours that a person supposedly works a month on development. We look at how much they invest in the various activities, how much they invest in onboarding, how much they invest on coding, how much time they invest on security issues, etc. And we know that what we have to do is to maximize as much as possible the time of definition and development, not the time for provisioning, etc. And this gives us information to progressively carry out fine tuning of the various activities that are not particularly core. Instead of working on deployment constantly, I'm working on development and deployment and everything around it. So this means that we'll gradually increase this percentage. And the same happens with the elapsed hours. It's not just a matter of dedication. If in order to test the project, I spend 5 weeks and I'm going to have springs of 2 weeks. It doesn't make sense to spend 5 weeks on I don't know how many approval processes, the budget, security, or whatever related to the project. So I have to analyze the other side, look at the elapsed times. Even if it isn't a developer effort, it stops life cycle development, and we have to see how we can solve all this on an iterative basis. And I wanted to comment on this methodology. These are just examples, but the concepts are there. When you carry out this exercise, you realize that the effort and the elapsed times isn't in development and deployment and innovation. It's in a lot of components around them. And if you don't cut them down and remove them, how no matter how much you progress in DevOps, we're not going to succeed in making the business as agile as we want.
And there's another issue, and that is that we are automating and we're transforming, but all of this transformation, in other words, all of this innovation that we are carrying out, what it does is generate a number of issues. So in other words, it's not easy to make sure that time to market is going to be reduced. And it's not easy to ensure that with all the automations and with all the innovations, we don't end up having service quality issues or availability issues or recovery time for incidents, because we're working with many integrated components. And at the end of the day, this means that when you have an incident, that incident contains all the integrations between components, between the technological components we have and all the automation. So we can't forget that what we have to do is monitor the activity, and we monitor it at two levels, because on the one hand, we are monitoring performance KPIs. In other words, what is my frequency of going to the market, or what is the time to market I have? Because I'm in production on the one hand, and on the other hand, what is my service quality? So how many incidences am I generating in each step towards production? How long is it going to take me to recover? Or how many incidents or non-availabilities do I have? Because if we don't automate all of these KPIs are very difficult to measure, because if somebody has to measure these time parameters, and the recovery times for an incident, at the end of the day, it's very difficult to have a dashboard that allows you to see how you are progressing in terms of transformation, which means that you have another additional automation that has to be carried out that has to do with KPIs, dashboards, and the processes in which you are implementing continuous improvements on a daily basis. So in a nutshell, the message is a transformation, or the transformation is an end-to-end transformation, and it's a transformation that I believe offers an opportunity, because it's an issue that has to do with innovation, and it's how technology transforms the business if we do things properly. And we also need to have the skills and people. People are absolutely fundamental for this entire transformation. And we need to have automation at all levels. And we need to be able to integrate components. And what we want to end up with here, we want to become a learning organization. In other words, an organization that is learning all the time, and not only learning from technology, but also from our customers. So I think that I've already given you lots of clues, and I've already described how complex this transformation is, but I think that you've seen how much fun this is and the many opportunities it offers us. So I only hope that you will have lots of fun during these 2 days. Let's only hope that you will benefit from these 2 days. It's wonderful to be able to listen to different messages from people that are working in different fields of transformation of DevOps, as well as of the cloud transformation. I hope that you will enjoy this, because this is what we have to do on a daily basis at our jobs. Thank you very much.